Hello and welcome to another episode of Rose Guns Days. Maybe the last one of this season. But at the rate we've been going, probably not. We'll have to see. I say this every time now, but yeah. I'm really curious when the season's going to end. Maybe never. Maybe I'll just keep going. Until like modern day. You know, until the old timeline is caught up with the modern day timeline. Just years and years of me reading. Probably not. But I wouldn't put it past Ryukishi to do that. Alright. Instead of me, rambling about the length of this season, here's what we'll do instead. I'm going to give you the summary for what happened last time. And then, you know, our trusty content warning. And then we'll just get started. Okay, so last time, James Tomitake contacted Davis, who's been getting in the way of Primavera a bit. He contacted Davis to offer him a deal, but Davis did not go for it. He's a sneaky guy. Clever-ish. Yeah, no, he's clever. So he didn't trust the deal and was like, nah, I don't want to go outside. Because, he knows people are after him. Which is the whole reason that James made the deal in the first place, to lure him out so Primavera could go after him. But it didn't work, so the Wandering Dogs are reunited when they're called in to track Davis down and help with the plan to take him out. They've all been learning and honing their skills in their respective fields. They've been doing their best, working hard for when they meet Cell again. Meanwhile, Stella and Meryl have what I have in my notes as a romantic rivalry moment that literally ends with, I think, Meryl saying, "I'm the only one who can kill you." So, you know. It's something. It was something. And, basically, that all happened as a result of Stella it's basically twice in one sentence. Stella told Meryl, "I want to go and support Rose, so you have to run this place by yourself now." And, Meryl, in her own ways, sort of wished her well, grudgingly. It seemed like a, you go do your best sort of thing, I guess. Seemed like. Those were definitely not the words used. They keep saying, acting like they hate each other, but I know the truth. And, after that conversation, Rose, Richard, and Stella meet with Butler, Meiju, and his sister, Meishue, also known as Yuki, who is Alan's girlfriend. So, what was that about again? I have it written down here. Yes, they're about to start negotiations and planning for the Distribution Association, the one that Davis is getting in the way of. However, speaking of Davis, Nina has a brilliant plan and tracks Davis down by figuring out exactly what type of woman would hang out with a guy like him. And she starts keeping tabs on these women until she finds the one that he's been seeing, and one wiretap later, and the Primavera knows Davis's plans. They know when he's gonna go and meet this lady. Well, they have a rough idea because they know he's smart. They know he could be saying this to throw them off. So immediately, Keith and Alan set up for assassination. They camp on a roof with a sniper rifle, and they plan to just be holed up there for days if need be. back with the group who is negotiating and planning, they've already worked out the plan. We don't get to see the discussion itself, but what we do get is Stella being overwhelmed by it. She's suddenly realizing that Rose has been planning for these discussions, and she's been playing the other two against each other, Butler and Meiju, and she's been making sure that Primavera doesn't get trampled on. And rather than being worried that she can't keep up, although that does kind of cross our mind a little bit, it makes her more resolved to support Rose and to learn and to try to keep up, basically. And then Butler is suddenly called away because one of his superiors has been called in, and he is waiting for Butler in his office. I think I just said battle or an accident, but no, we're talking about Butler. It was a different person, despite having very similar habits that I do not appreciate. Okay. God, it's been a while since I last... I just looked at the date for my last save. Oh no. I've been very busy, sadly. But it's okay, because we're here now. Okay, so... I rushed ahead a little bit. Still needs to do the content warning. And I'll catch you up on what's been happening in more detail, because I forgot a little detail. I forgot the word detail right after saying the word detail. Okay. Content warning for Rosegun's Days. Violence and gun violence. Racism. Sexual content, including mentions of assault. Misogyny. Alcohol abuse. Mental health issues like trauma and depression, and mentions of human trafficking. I will cut in more warnings if more are needed, so if there's nothing, you're good. This is the full list. And keep in mind that this is a warning for the season as a whole. It's not a warning for this episode. I don't know what's going to happen in this episode yet. So, this superior officer that's been called in is literally waiting in Butler's office for him. And he has made himself at home. He's playing some music. He's digging up old, I think it was wine bottles. I'm not sure if it was wine or like whiskey or something. But yeah, he's been rummaging. He's been snooping. Oh, is it? I understand it's from a good year. Jeez, okay, so it was wine. Wine is a gift of the bountiful earth and the gods. Its quality or lack thereof surpasses human understanding. Oh, I don't like him already. Oh, he's pretentious. I don't like that. That is why enjoying it and learning the difference between the years is like having a conversation with the gods. So, you like wine, Major? Wine is not a hobby. It is culture, Captain. To take this rare crystallization of God's love and keep it in something like a drawer. Such a sad thing to do. It must sadden even the one who sent you this wine, wouldn't you agree? It was wine far too expensive to be affordable with Butler's wages. That, and the careless way it was stored, seemed to have been enough for Gabriel to spot it as a bribe. Your words leave a deep impression on me. Did I say leave or leave? They leave a deep impression on... Ugh, Jesus. We're up to a good start. You get what I mean. We've both been here long enough to know that sometimes I fumble my words, and we're both just gonna have to deal with it. I hope you'll add that wine to your collection as a sign of our new friendship. Bouchon. Excuse me? What irony. Or is this a sign from God? Ugh, I hate this guy. He's so pretentious. Quite interesting. This is the true pleasure of having wine as a means to converse with the gods. Butler had no idea what he was saying. He tried to flip through channels, trying to match wavelengths, but nothing matched. However, this brief exchange of words gave Butler a general picture of who this Gabriel person was. Was he a beneficial person? No. A person he could control? Not that either. Bouchon. That is the tragedy of wine. Even the miraculous divine blessing of a good year transforms to ruby-colored sewage when violated by Bouchon. If you ask for a wine bottle at a restaurant, then once you remove the cork, you must pay for all of it, even if you didn't even have a sip. Wine corks had a virginity to them. When you ask for a bottle and the cork is taken out, the contract over the wine is already complete. Whether the guest decides to drink it or not, they must pay for everything inside. In that sense, one might say the cork was worth just as much as all the wine inside the bottle. However, there is one exception by which you can return the bottle even after having a sip. That is Bouchon. An unfortunate accident of wine, where the smell of the cork invades it and ruins its scent. Ah, I figured that was what he meant. That's why, when they open a wine bottle at an expensive restaurant, they start with a tasting. It's to confirm that the product isn't affected by Bouchon. The chance of Bouchon occurring is extremely small. When that extremely low probability is combined with a bottle from a good year, we have an intersection of two miracles, good and bad. Hey, the red text always freaks me out. Because then if you do this also, it's like extra red. But I never in my life expected that we would see it over wine. Because usually this is used to denote like really upsetting, traumatic things. You know? It's supposed to scare you a little. We're talking about wine. I mean, everyone needs their hobbies, I guess. I don't care that much about wine. However, the two miracles do not cancel each other out. The good miracle of a good year is crushed by the bad miracle called Bouchon. He was probably hinting that the occupying forces, which ought to be pure, were stained with corruption. So, if you put a drop of piss in a barrel of wine, the whole barrel becomes piss? What a waste of my efforts to avoid such a crude analogy. A pleasure to meet you, Captain. I am Gabriel. I suddenly stopped being able to read. Gabriel Kaburaya. I kept flipping the U and the A over in my head. Ooh, new music. That was exciting. I don't think the two of us will get along well, but I'm pleased to meet you. Chapter 1. Two snipers. Why are we going backwards? We're going backwards. It's... Last time it was chapter 2. What is happening? This is wild. And we're still not done. What's the next one going to be? Chapter 0? The order of the chapters makes no sense. I love it. Sorry, just finishing my coffee. A fine restaurant. I can see why the General chose to frequent it. I'm surprised. I've got quite an appetite for the morning. What? Chapter 2. Descent of the Hells Angel. But I thought we already had Chapter 2. Am I crazy? Am I crazy? Maybe I remembered it wrong and we started at 1. I could have sworn we started at 2 last time, but I might have been wrong. So then we finished with like chapter 7, I think, and then we would have started over. And then it just goes 1, 2, 3. Or we're just straight up already in... So confused. I'm so confused about these chapters. If we've already been in season 4, I'm gonna be so annoyed at myself for not realizing, but I could have sworn there were like credits last time. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just... No, I think... Okay. I think maybe they just messed up the chapters and we're still in season 3. I'm not crazy. Okay. I think they genuinely just put the wrong numbers in. Or they're meant to have the wrong, like these numbers, but then the order is still... I don't know, it's hard to tell. This is not a very popular series, which is sad because it's really good. I do enjoy it a lot. Yeah. I don't know what's going on here, but we'll just keep going. All I know is that we're not at the end yet. There's one more chapter after this. So it really is a really long season. But now we know. The Major was slender, so Butler had expected a single pancake and some coffee, but those expectations had been far off. Though it was the morning, Gabriel's order was splendid enough to be a dinner. Margaret Wilson had a saying about the 3 meals. Eat breakfast like a king, eat lunch like a prince, and eat dinner like a pauper. That sounds awful. Breakfast. I don't eat breakfast. I can't eat food early in the morning. So I just skip it entirely. And I know they say that's not healthy. But it's just, this is how I live, okay? If I had to eat like that, I would die. The desire to eat a lot at night, when all you're going to do is sleep, is a temptation from Satan with the purpose of corrupting men. It's okay. I don't like this guy. Guess that does make sense. It is strange that the start of our working days is our smallest meal, while our largest one is one right before we... Our largest one is right before we sleep. For you, maybe. I like that quote. Is this Margaret Person some ancient poet? She's my grandmother. She was quite strict when it came to food. Well now. Sounds like she's quite a respectable person. So, let us enter our main discussion. To put it in the crude terms you seem to enjoy, let's have an end to this farce. Fine with me either way, sir. First, allow me to explain my task. You all seem to think I was dispatched from the GHQ to investigate corruption and collusion. The answer is yes. That's the job the GHQ wants me to do. On the surface, he had come with the title of Special Officer commissioned for the purpose of eliminating organized crime. In other words, as far as his title went, he was here to preserve public order, just like Butler. However, Butler, as well as all the corrupt officers under the Director General, hadn't accepted that explanation. They had been secretly sure that he had come to sneakily expose their own wrongdoing in collusion with local mafia groups. And now, right after the man showed up, he was confessing that this was the truth. Sounds like you're pretty lucky then. You won't find a city more stable and in touch with its residents than ours. True. There aren't many cities with its leaders this in touch with its residents. Guess her job's gonna be over pretty soon. Please let the GHQ know that. The city folk will be happy too. Conversations with you are quite amusing. I feel like I've slipped into the world of a movie. I've always wanted to take part in a conversation like this once in my life. Glad to hear it. There's nothing I'd like more than to please you. Butler returned the comment with a full smile, but he wasn't feeling that way on the inside. After all, from the brief conversations they'd had between last night and now, he discovered that Gabriel was the type he was worst at making friends with. What he was trying to figure out now was whether Gabriel was someone he couldn't be friends with, but otherwise harmless, or else a person who, on top of not being a friend, would bring him obnoxious harm. Which one of the two was this man? Let's get straight to my conclusion. I have proof that nearly all of the high officers under the Director General, as well as yourself, have been involved with influence peddling. Surely you must be joking. There was no way he had proof. Butler had managed it all carefully. That was why the Director General and the others couldn't disobey Butler, and why they had allowed Butler's side business. Because he had that absolute confidence, Butler was able to answer immediately, with a smile and not even a flinch. However, the truth is that we both have frigid knives at our throats. Oh? What do you mean by that? You have also formed a network of corruption with several GHQ officials, and possess proof of that network as well. And, since you have the cunning of a fox, you are using that proof as insurance for your own safety. Oh? Sounds like you've got quite a few villains out there. The network of corruption that tied Butler to the officials had bestowed them with profit, but Butler had gained proof that they had participated in corruption. If Butler got the axe, then several famous officials in the GHQ upper stratum would go as well. Surely, the scale and effects of that would eventually lead to a scandal so large, even the general would get sacked. Since they were currently battling the Chinese military for supremacy, the uncovering of such a scandal could only bolster their enemies. Of course, since this might even affect the presidential elections, probes into corruption were always being put off. Corruption itself is, of course, not something to be allowed. You know, they say flexibility is the best oil. How about a metaphor? The German army apparently had loads of incredible guns, many of which were very precise, the height of craftsmanship. However, in the extreme cold of the Eastern Front, that precision worked against them, as most of the guns broke and became completely useless. And the Soviets? Their guns were, to be blunt, shoddily made, but flexible enough to have a little give. So they withstood the cold, both the cold and the battlefield dust, and too long. If you can shorten your example a bit more, it loses its elegance. Anyway, to skip to the end, let's put aside the plans of the gentleman who dispatched me here. I have little interest in individual cases of corruption, collusion, and bribery. My, how derelict of duty you are. You misunderstand. My job is to protect the honor of the United States Army, not to expose corruption. Yeah, this is why you don't send one of your own guys to investigate, like, the crimes in your own, like, from your own guys. This is why. Just, yeah, typical. Why on earth would I want to dredge up a scandal that hasn't even gone public yet? Now there's a shock. And here I pictured you as a more saintly dude. I get that a lot. Though my upbringing was the exact opposite of yours. What? That sounds rude. I don't really know what that means, and I don't think we know what Butler's upbringing was like, but that sounds really fucking rude. Anyway, I believe we are fundamentally the same in our thinking. I am no saint. I may be a gentleman, but I have never thought of myself as a good person. No? Are you saying you're a bad person? Captain, what's the difference between good people and bad people? I think of it this way. If you prioritize public benefit over your own ambitions, you're a good person. Otherwise, you're a bad person. Definitely seems to make sense to me. To go further, one might also draw a line between foolish bad people and wise bad people. Foolish bad people prioritize their own ambition, while wise bad people pretend it's for the public benefit. My, how wonderful. I feel our wavelengths may have finally matched. Though I could hardly call this meal delicious, it seems this meeting was worth the time. He's such a jerk, what the fuck? I mean, corruption bad and all that, but also, it's a complicated situation, and also, it's just mean. What a pretentious jerk, I don't like. Finally, Butler thought he could see a bit into the depths of Gabriel's eyes. This major, who was apparently well brought up, probably made it big in the world while being adored by many stiff old men. However, that was apparently a front. In that sense, yes, this man was surely an even wiser evildoer than Butler. Getting back to the point, for that reason, I have no interest in investigating your corruption. If I dig you up, the entwined roots will uproot the entire field. After all, my mission is to protect the honor of the United States Army, not tarnish it. To use the Japanese proverb, let sleeping gods lie. Jesus said that even adultery inside one's heart is a sin. However, I believe no human exists who has not sinned inside their hearts. After all, Jesus himself couldn't throw the stone. Whoa. To think a person with the name of an angel would criticize his master. I like you, Major. I totally get it from your introduction. So, is there any way I can help you? Indeed there is. That's why I'm having breakfast with you right now. First, I don't want to leave you with the mistaken impression that you and I are friends. But of course, Major. I would never be so audacious as to think that. Very well. And I came here as a special officer commissioned for the purpose of eliminating organized crime. In other words, you, as the leader of the local Department of Public Order, are my subordinate and my equipment. Understand? Understood, sir. What was your nickname in high school? Phil? As you guessed, sir. Then I'll call you Phil when we're alone. What? This guy's, I don't know. Weird vibes, I don't like it. Oh, I just read the next sentence. It gets worse. I'm going to have you become my property in a literal sense, Phil. The order had already gone through the Director General that Gabriel would be made City 23's new Director of Public Order, with Butler as his aide. That's probably what Gabriel was referring to, but his almost cold smile seemed to indicate something more. I'm not sure I fully understand your meaning. What is this dude's deal? Focus. Remember how you felt when you got your first girlfriend. You wanted to be with her 24 hours a day, didn't you? You wanted to have her body and mind all to yourself, right? You didn't want her to write or call anyone you didn't know, and you didn't want her going out to meet anyone on her own. That's kind of fucked up, sir. That. For some reason, it's always been the girl who acted that way, not me. My body must exude some strange aroma. People like that seem to gather around me. What is this dude's deal? Hearing that makes me jealous of the other girls who tried to monopolize you. And at the same time, I'm pleased to have surpassed them and become your new owner. Red flags. Run away. I guess that means I'm not exactly normal, doesn't it? Yep. Correct, sir. What is going on here? I'm worried. I'm concerned. Like, I don't know. Like, imagine your boss walks into your office. No, he's already there when you enter. Then he's like, let's go have breakfast. You have breakfast. And then he's like, okay, I own you now. Like, outside of work too. Like, that's so, ugh. Anyway. It's so fucked up. I'm getting really distracted by it. I should just keep going. To be fair, I'm dreading what comes next a little bit, because this can only go bad places. I see. At the very least, it would seem you aren't a good person. Or a good person, I guess, should be the emphasis. Bill, you will be under observation 24 hours a day from now on. Of course, your letters and phone calls. Sorry, I couldn't read the text. The text there. Your letters and phone calls will be examined. You may not leave my side without my permission, so it's just, like, to keep an eye on him, I guess. Okay. Let's hope it stays that way, because this man's creepy. To go further, I would like to forbid you from eating and sleeping without my permission. But I'm not so demonic as that. Weird. Is this deja vu? Could have sworn my last girlfriend said the same thing. I only mean for you to devote yourself to your job. There's nothing strange about that. Preserving public order within City 23 is our job, is it not? As you say, sir. I can't read this guy's thoughts. What's he planning? Butler was starting to feel as though he was having a staring contest with the snake. My title is Special Officer, commissioned for the purpose of eliminating organized crime. My original job is to crack down on organized crime, is it not? There's nothing so shady going on in City 23, right? Phil, you hate farces, did you not? You hated farces, did you not? I feel the same. Even the GHQ has been discussing how East Tokyo has gotten too boisterous. The Japanese Mafia, Primavera, and the Chinese Golden Dragon Society. I know that those two stand at the eye of the typhoon. We have had some trouble with those two organizations of residents, but it's already been dealt with. I'm pretty sure waking a child that's already been put to bed would run against our doctrine, right, Major? Not at all. That's why I'm a bad person. Uh-oh. So I told him, that's a sure thing, pretty clean, and now it's mine. I don't get it. Me neither, bud. As they chatted happily about stupid things, they looked like a pair of close school friends. However, Alan's eyes never once left his binoculars, and Keith remained on his gun sight. Even though nearly a full day and night had passed. I can read. There's a T missing there. Since they had set up camp on this roof and entered sniping positions. It's like afternoon, and there's a lot of glare from just the window on my screen. It's making it a little hard to read, and I cannot make, the text bigger. I wish I could, though. If they ever do a remaster of this, make the text bigger. Let me make it bigger. That's all I ask. That's really all I ask. There was a relaxed atmosphere, as though there were a bunch of female students chatting in a cafe. Oh, Spotted a cat going after a bra. Oh? Where? Give me a hint. It's pretty high up. Oh, careful there. I know it's interesting because it's swinging, but you can't eat that. I see it. It's probably enjoying it because it's hanging out to dry. What? Hey, let's shoot and knock it down. Easy. But I don't want to waste my bullets on a granny bra like that. Even when Butler isn't around, his ghost is haunting me. But okay. C cup, D cup, got a nosebleed coming up. I'll laugh to death, you're killing me. Normally, snipers wait by killing their mines and waiting for their prey, like a lizard or a deep-sea fish. Well, I mean, I don't think their mines are active anymore, so there's that. It's basically the same thing. Once, even Keith had believed that that was the only rule. However, Alan had torn that boring common knowledge apart. Keith believed that Alan's skill, which was no greater or lesser than his own sniping ability, was in his ability to joke. At first, he had mocked it. I don't think it's an ability if even you yourself do not understand the joke, Keith. He's just goofing off. I don't think he deserved the credit. Believed that having a heart as cold as a rock was a requirement for pulling off the perfect job. However, he'd been wrong. Rocks are easily cracked. They can even crumble. However, willows are different. They may shake in the wind, but they never snap. Keith had been made deeply aware of that on the vicious, parched battlefield. The part of Alan's character that made him never forget humor, no matter the situation, had certainly earned him the displeasure of his bullying superior officers. But despite that, he never let it get to him. And it even earned him the favor of some superiors who found it amusing. If it weren't for Alan, Keith would never have survived those 3 months fighting all alone, much less the time spent at the prison camp. The harder you try to be a rock, the more fragile you are. When you crack, you'll crumble to pieces in a flash. Only Alan's cheeriness could have given him the strength to survive the harsh life in the army and in that prison camp. Oh, that's sweet. Ever since then, Alan was nothing less than the sun to Keith. Whenever he couldn't see Alan, it was as though the sun had set and night had fallen. And when Alan showed himself, it was as though the sun had risen and morning had come. So, even though it was getting late and the air was chilly, their brightness remained unchanged. As long as they remained together, the sun would never set. Okay, but when you phrase it like that, it sounds really ominous. Like it's foreshadowing. What's the time? I'm glad you asked. Problem time is drawing near. Let's get our spirits up. Roger that. If he doesn't show up, this is gonna turn into a long job. If he doesn't show up by midnight, let's contact Oliver Kuhn. They won't be able to remain tense so long. You'd better take shifts. Young kids got no endurance. I feel like a private first class. There was no trace of weariness about them. Relaxation and concentration. The combination of those two things made this pair geniuses at sniping. Then, they both tensed up at the same moment. The headlights of several cars were coming down the street in front of the hotel. There were 3 cars. They all stopped in front of the hotel. The snipers had had the hotel under constant observation since the previous night, and they had never seen 3 cars stop this desolate hotel at once. That's not what we've expected. The bosses said Davis would be alone. It's fine. This just makes it easier to tell. Sniping was the right decision. If the plan was to take him out at close range, they would have taken us out instead. Normally, the best plan for taking Davis out would be to ambush him in the hotel. However, they had made the correct decision in sniping after considering Davis's good instincts and the chance that he would bring a large group of underlings like this. Suited, grim-faced, obviously well-muscled men came out of the cars one after another. With their hands clearly in their pockets, they scattered around the area, glaring at all parts of the dim street. The bosses didn't want witnesses, right? Yeah, we were told to keep them as few as humanly possible. But if we let this chance slip by, who knows if we'll get another. I know. The bosses said not letting them get away was our first priority. So, do we take him? Though, if we don't want witnesses, maybe we should take them all out. One shot will be fine. Let's just take him down. After that, when it gets crazy and the police show up, I'm sure they'll run home. I wonder how much it's gonna cost a butler to hush this up. How much it's gonna cost? You don't mean we're paying, right? If we take him out without getting the captain involved, they said we'd get a bonus. Hey, I never heard about that. From what they'd heard beforehand, this man was a swindler pretending to be a young businessman, but he supposedly wasn't connected to any organization. They hadn't expected him to come with such a large guard. No. He might have just brought bodyguards so he could act important. However, they had heard about his good instincts. He might have gotten bodyguards because he predicted an attack from somewhere. After confirming that the surrounding area was safe, one of the men knocked on the window of the middle car. There's no one in sight. It's safe. You're sure, right? There's not even a cat looking about out there, right? Of course not. If there had been one, we would have chased it away. The guards probably interpreted Davis's caution as cowardice. Davis seemed extremely displeased that they took it this way, and he gazed all around through the window, looking discouraged. He even glanced at the roof of the building Alan and Keith were on, but at this distance and in this darkness, there was no chance of him spotting them. Davis opened the door a bit violently as he tried to prove that he wasn't a coward, and he got out of the car. That stupid woman. I told her to get her luggage ready and wait in the front hall. She's still getting her makeup on, isn't she? Damn, this is why you can't trust women. Okay, we're sorry for the very random break in the tension, but I had to take a break from recording because apparently the font size is just fine. I was just getting a big migraine. And then you start seeing like splotches and I couldn't read the text anymore because of that. It's not the game's fault. I would still prefer like maybe some font options, or but it's not the game's fault. So that was my bad, I guess. Or my brain's bad for hurting so much. I don't know. But I'm good now. It's just it had been so long since my last migraine that I kind of forgot what it was like until I realized, oh, I'm actually seeing spots right now. I need to go to lie down in a dark room. The perils of reading stories on the internet. Anyway. Is that him? Checking. Get me additional confirmation, please. Who's he asking? Alan was checking the target's facial features with his binoculars. It was almost certainly Davis, but they couldn't afford to shoot an uninvolved person, even if it was a mistake. Keith's sniper scope could confirm that the man coming out of the car was their leader, but it couldn't accurately pick out his facial features. If he walked a few steps more, the lights of the hotel entrance would shine on his face. Then, they'd be able to confirm that he was Davis Degawa himself. Silently, Keith's gun barrel and sights focused on the top of the target's head. Lots of people close the eye not on their sights when shooting. Lots of people close the eye not on their sights when shooting. There we go. But Keith was different. Keith's right eye accurately lined up the target's head through the sights, and his left eye judged the distance between him and the target. With his right and left eyes looking at different things, he viewed the world between himself and the target in 3 dimensions. It was a special sniping technique he had learned from his father, one which had been passed down through his family for generations. One step at a time, the target approached the light of the lobby. The light seeping out of the lobby started at the target's feet and slowly rose up his body. All right. The face was clearly lit up by the lights. There was no doubt. It was Davis Degawa himself. A streetlight was in the way. Let him walk a few more steps. At that moment, they suddenly heard the screech of tires. Davis was shocked, and he rushed into the shadows like a scared cat. The sudden, rapid motion was too much even for Keith to track. What? What happened? There's a car coming? What's going on? With screeching tires, a single beat-up car came sliding down the street. It wasn't able to make the turn, and it came to a stop after pathetically slamming its side against a fire hydrant. The guards all drew their pistols, standing ready with killing intent. Then, several young people got out of the car, scratching their heads. Oliver? What are they doing? Why are they getting in the way? That is a good question I would also like to know. Dang. Couldn't make the turn. The heck's wrong with you, retard? Next time, I drive. What is it? Who are these people? Well, they look like a bunch of dumb kids. I'm sure they were just driving around some car they stole. No, I don't like this. I have a bad feeling about this. The top of my head itches when things like this happen. By now, Davis wasn't even hiding his caution. He curled up into a ball, unashamed of looking like a coward, while the guards formed a human wall as he dashed into the hotel. It's no use. There was no chance they'd find it. There was no chance they'd find a chance to snipe like this. What? What's going on? I don't get it. It probably means the situation's changed. They had only exchanged a few words with Oliver, but he had been introduced as a person worthy of Wayne's trust. Such a man would never interfere with a plan to eliminate Primavera's enemies, nor would he screw up. This was probably a message to stop the attack. Alan and Keith hadn't told the others where they were sniping from, so this was probably the only way to prevent the attack. After that, there were no more opportunities to snipe Davis. He hid his body behind a human wall of guards, curled up like a hedgehog as he dashed out of the hotel with his woman. Alan and Keith could only look on regretfully as the line of cars drove away. They left the roof and met up with Oliver's group. Oliver-kun, what exactly is going on here? We received an urgent message from the boss to suspend the plan. By boss, do you mean Wayne-kun? Or our boss? No. I heard it was from the Grand Boss. What's going on? I don't have a clue. Just when he'd finished waiting a whole day just to plant a bullet in the top of his head. I'm beat. Wanna take a shower. Don't get sulky, partner. Let's hear why this thing got suspended. We don't know the details either, but it sounds like he's got someone's backing. Backing? Is someone big enough to stop the Great Primavera which controls City 23? Didn't know there were any names that big left in the city. Left in the city. Who is it? What? No. What? I'm baffled. I'm actually baffled. Oh no, I have to do this shitty accent again. Why did I do this to myself in the past? Okay, listen though. Alfred has no back. Like, he's got nothing anymore, surely. Like, what's he? He's been sort of in the background occasionally since season 1, but there's no way that he's like involved, right? That's so weird. I don't know. We'll find out once I figure out how to do the voice. This is gonna be so bad, I'm so sorry. Hey, it's me, Alfred Akagi. What is it? Again, I'm sorry. A long time no see, everybody. No need to worry, for I am healthy. Energy, vitality. What? I don't think anyone was worried about you, my guy. I'm sorry. What? I'm baffled. Wow, that's nice. Sounds like you're in as high spirits as ever. I've heard the rumors about you. Sounds like you and your henchmen have been running around, robbing banks, and really raking it in. Money's important. I have to give my henchmen a feast. I need many, many monies. I know it's been a while, so let me explain. We've changed a bit since you last threatened us. Now we're a luxury establishment, even employing the girl's favorite by the great Director General. Of course I know. Primavera has grown magnificently. But me, I'm the kind of man who burns more and more. The biggest my enemies are. You haven't changed, Crazy Alfred. I don't see how this ties into Davis, but okay. The Alfred family had supposedly dispersed. That's what he... Okay, I just remembered where we saw him last. Not last, but the time before that. He was like robbing banks in the background. But yeah, the Alfred family had supposedly dispersed. However, he was a persistent man. He had never surrendered himself. He had restarted from square one, trying to raise his flag, and had steadily gathered money and henchmen. Most villains had huddled under the big tree of Primavera, but there were quite a few who didn't. Plenty of villains felt more comfortable with Alfred's crazy personality, yes, let's just roll with that, instead of Rose's pretty talk. After gathering up those people who just wanted to run wild, Alfred had returned. Crazier than ever. Davis Degawa is a friend of mine. If something unlucky were to happen to him, no matter what it is, I will consider it Primavera's doing, and I'll have very much revenge to give you as a present. I see. I'm sorry. But that wasn't too loud. Nobody expects the Alfred. Didn't think that crazy man would pop up here. Why can't he die? We should have finished him off when we had the chance. What'll we do? We're going to war with him. We should start soon. He's got a strange sort of charisma. If we are careless, he'll start calling in all sorts of troublesome people. I did have a connection between Davis and Alfred in the back of my mind. You did? How? What? But who could have guessed it would show up here? He's got no reins. When he fights all out, no matter who it is. I know. That's why he's Crazy Alfred. Even now, after becoming a force large enough to control City 23, Alfred was a threat to them. After all, common sense didn't work on him. He didn't care about his opponent's rank. He would bite anyone, and was probably more suited to the name Mad Dog than Wayne. If an all-out war were permissible, he was no match of them, of course. No match for them, of course. However, this was a slightly nervous period. They had to gain public support to establish their association. They wanted to avoid darker matters as much as possible. Then maybe you shouldn't have scheduled a freaking assassination, my guys. If you want to avoid the dark stuff, the solution is to stop doing it, and not to, make it more dark. You can't hide it. I mean, you can, but only for a while, surely. Or stuff like this happens. It's just how it happened in my time. Davis started talking big, and Alfred picked a fight. It's the same thing again. You should get those problem erasers Maurice is so proud of to finish him off along with Davis. Yeah, that's our best option. You just said you wanted to stay away from... I'll leave you guys to it. Just do your crimes. See if I care. But he's no fool himself. I'm sure he knows our current situation. He must have picked this fight while knowing we probably had a few assassins with us. True. It probably won't be easy to kill him. James, how did you resolve your trouble last time? Money. He's incredibly insane, but he won't act so crazy that he kicks money away. Is that really all it took to make him go away? Of course there was more to it than money, but it took considerable effort. We cannot postpone. I want the decision for the association's establishment to be made at our next meeting. There's no time to lose. We can't let anyone get in Rosan's way any longer. Okay, I'll have my people find his hideout. We'll find it even if it's in the sewers. If you mention rats, Wayne, I'm going to yell. Okay, thanks. Thanks for not mentioning rats. Wait. In this case, we don't even have time for that. But, Richardson, what else can we... Calm yourself. Bullets are not the only form of ammunition. Meaning? I mean, we should follow James's previous precious advice. Excuse me. Contact Alfred. Tell him I wish to resolve this through negotiation. Richardson, are you planning to do whatever that crazy guy says? Money is also ammunition. If you don't fire it off at the right time, then when will you ever? Leave it to me. I'll show you that violence can be quelled with wealth. You couldn't have thought of that. You couldn't have thought of that before, huh? I'm sorry, that just sounds really high and mighty when you've been planning an assassination behind Rosa's back. That's all. Huh? Yuki-chan, you're here already. Wow, you've never shown up first before. Thank goodness, Alan. Whenever they met for a date, Alan had always arrived first. This was the first time she had beaten him, and so early too. I'm really glad your dangerous job ended safely. It's not exactly over though. Well, you know, trash never really goes away. The higher-ups had postponed Davis's sniping, while they tried to resolve things with Alfred. Of course, Alan had used that precious break to invite Yuki to a date. But I'm glad you're safe too. Huh? You said you were going to a conference with some mafia types, right? I was worried you might not make it back safely. He had probably been worried that she, as a normal civilian, might have gotten into trouble while tangling with Primavera's bosses. However, she was Lee Meiju's little sister. She wasn't in the mafia herself, but she had the backing of the GDS. Alan didn't know that she wasn't a person Primavera could touch easily. But there was a but coming, but there was no but. Thank you. But I told you, didn't I? I'm used to dealing with people like that. The discussion did get fierce, but it ended with us peacefully drinking together before going home. Wow, that's awesome. Nice going, Yuki-chan. Sounds like you'll make it big in the future. So, let's head to that restaurant as promised. I've got reservations. Of course. But since I'm in a good mood, let's start by giving you 10 points. Whoa, they keep rolling in. I want to ask you where you live next. I don't think you're going to get an answer to that one. What's wrong? Alan's joking face suddenly went stiff. However, it quickly softened again, and he picked up his pace while putting his arm across Meishui's shoulder. What's going on? I'm in high heels today, so go a bit slower. Do you know anyone in Chinatown? Hmm? 2 Chinese thugs have been following us for the last 2 blocks. They're probably underlings of the GDS. Any idea why they might be here? No, not at all. Alan realized that he was probably being followed. Primavera knew Crazy Alfred was backing Davis. But what if Alfred wasn't in turn being backed by the GDS? That's the Chinese for you. So, you're pretending to support the new association and scheming to crush it at the same time? Now there's a nice negotiation trick. At the same time, Mei Xue realized that she was being followed. Her brother had apparently guessed that the phone call the other day was from his sister's boyfriend. He must have sent some of his young troops to see what sort of man she was dating. Sheesh, this is why I hate the mafia. Brother, you can just hit your head on a piece of mapo tofu and die. I thought you spelled it differently, but I guess not. Yuki-chan, did you tell anyone about the restaurant we were going to today? No, I told no one. So, what to do? He knew she hated violence. However, that might be unavoidable depending on how those men acted. What should I do? Should I just confess already that I love a good fight? Of course, I'll try to avoid violence as much as possible in the future. But just this once, I may have to ask her to let it slide. Mei Xue could hear what Alan was thinking, without him even opening his mouth. Oh no. Alan's ready to go at them. He's such a vigorous person after all. I guess it's only normal for a man to want to chase away suspicious people and show off his strength to his girlfriend. But Alan, you've got to stop. You're an ordinary citizen, and they're in the mafia. Oh, these two are hopeless. They're also just itching to make a name for themselves. Alan got beaten to a pulp and she had to intervene. That would wound his pride. And if by some miracle Alan took them down, he would have to face a terrible reprisal later. Hey, Alan, are you sure it isn't your imagination? My imagination? No, it's not. Those glinting eyes, they're filled with killing intent, you know? Are you sure you aren't just imagining it because you want to show off to me? Would you mind waiting here a second? I'm going to go talk to them. What? That's dangerous. Who knows what they do to you? Trust me. Leave it to me. I'll prove it's just a misunderstanding. If they try to do something violent to me, I give you permission to act. See? Does that work for you? Be careful, okay? You can never trust the Chinese. Alan, you're really stepping in it. Even Alan wasn't 100% sure he was being tailed. 70% at most. Their traditional GDS clothing stood out when they walked in the middle of the street like this, so he might be mistaken in thinking that they were being followed. Come to think of it, what would be the point of them tailing me? When the GDS moves, it's simple, bang. That should have been all. However, just in case, Alan quietly released the safety in his brain. If they lay a finger on her, I'll show no mercy. Mei Xue glanced back to make sure Alan was waiting obediently. There's a good boy. Just wait there for a bit. When Mei Xue approached their two stalkers, they pretended not to notice her, looking the other way and putting cigarettes in their mouths. That just makes you extra suspicious, my guys. Okay, nice work, boys. Did my brother put you up to this? Don't play dumb. If you do, I'll tell brother you touched my butt. Please forgive us, young miss. The boss ordered us to guard you from afar. No, thank you. No need to butt into my personal life. Tell my brother I said that. That won't do. Please tell that to the boss directly if you would, young miss. Of course, I'll be grabbing him by the collar and telling him. So, please, go home. If you don't run off before I count to 3, I'll cry molester and make sure brother hears about it too. Got it? Here I go. Son. They couldn't afford to have rumors going around that they had messed with the boss's sister. The two of them scrambled away. Alan's eyes went wide as he watched this scene. They were lost. I told them where to go and they dashed off. Wow, Yuki-chan. You really are cosmopolitan. You even speak Chinese fluently. Well, yeah. Didn't I tell you? I know 7 languages. Of course, Chinese is one of them. Still, I'm glad. I was here shuddering, wondering if they'd suddenly take you hostage or something. You get villains everywhere, but the Chinese are particularly ruthless. You better be careful, huh? That's not true. There are plenty of Chinese gentlemen. Well, if you're talking about friends from school, they probably were. But the Chinese people hanging around City 23 are all creeps. You should be on your guard. Shut up. It's the creeps who are dangerous, not the Chinese in general. That's discrimination. Well, I'm not saying that all the Chinese are villains, but it's still safer to assume they are when you're living around them. You're not really helping your case here, my guy. He's gonna get so dumped. But whether he does or not, we will find that out next time. And my money is on he gets dumped. Yeah. There's no way that this is gonna work out. But we'll see. Alright, okay, alright. End screen, end screen. Where is my end screen? It's over here. Alright. Yeah, that's gonna be it for me for today. We will be back next week. I'm working on building up my backlog again. It's going alright. It's going alright, so everything should be fine. We should be getting another episode next week. Unless you're far in the future and they're all out already. In which case, good job me. So all that is left is for me to tell you. I guess it's not telling so much as like wishing you a good evening or day or morning, depending on the time where you are right now. And a good the rest of the day. And a good last week. Thank you so much for watching. See you again next time. Bye-bye.